To be playing this music, any music together in this format. So anyway, that's cool. Yeah, it's better. So,
this recording with Daft Punk. Now, my knowledge of Daft Punk was really that they were EDM kind of a band, or duo, the two robots. And so I was very, very surprised to get this phone call. And my first thought about the call, the invitation, was that perhaps they wanted me to play electronic drums, because I do electronic programming and play the drums, and I've used drum machines and samples over the years, so I thought maybe my role with the band would be more as a programmer consultant kind of a deal, right? And the robots go, no, we want you to play drums, acoustic drums. Daft Punk wants acoustic drums? What are they doing right? What are they up to? Now, Tomas is the taller of the two robots. Tomas has some keyboards set up in the studio. And he has these ideas, riffs, 1 bar, 2 bar phrases, maybe 4 bar phrases at the most. And the idea is that he would let us hear these things, and then we would create a live loop of it, basically. So I would hear the part, and then I would fall into some kind of rhythmic idea that I felt spontaneously at that moment. And then we would turn on the recording machines, and then we would play that for about 15 or 20 minutes. And we would just let it develop. And it was just jamming in the studio. Now, when they flew me, they also invited a great bass player named James Genus. Woo! You know James Genus? James has been playing with Herbie Hancock recently. So they flew James and I together to Los Angeles. And for a week, we did this jamming on these different riffs, these different ideas. Now, when the record was done, I remember I was in my car driving, and this song comes on the radio. And the first person I recognize is the lead singer, Pharrell. And I'm going, oh wow, that sounds pretty good. It's got a nice groove and everything. And then I hear the guitar, and I'm going, okay, that's got to be Nile. That's got to be Nile Rodgers. It sounds just like Nile. And then I hear some vocoders, and my wife, Rachel Z, is an amazing keyboard player and pianist, and she goes, I don't know who this drummer is, but the hi-hat sounds like you a little bit. It sounds like something you would play. And I thought, I guess, maybe. So at the end of the record, the DJ goes, that was the new one from Daft Punk. Get Lucky was the name of the record. That was the first time I had heard that song, because we record the song Get Lucky in the studio, because all we were doing was creating these live loops of grooves and jamming, and the robots were very clever because they had very specific ideas about what the tempos were going to be and what keys that these riffs were going to be in. And so what they did was they basically created a live loop construction kit that they were going to use. A library yeah. of myself and James Genus and J.R. Robinson and Nathan East and all of these different musicians, and they could go into this library. And so Get Lucky is Nile Rodgers, Nathan East, who wasn't even there the day I played. They did Pharrell's vocals in Paris, I believe. And so this record is really an interesting and even genius construction of a pop dance record that used both electronic elements and acoustic live musician elements and orchestration. It's a very, very interesting record. Thank you for that question. Excellent. Member of the band to understand and commit themselves to the telling of that story.
Amen. Preach on, preach on.
So the drummer has a unique position and responsibility, because I have to make sure that I'm connected not only to the story, but to the rhythmic motion, which then translates into the emotion of that particular song. And so it's like having a beautiful painting, but the thing is that if you put the wrong frame on the painting, the frame doesn't complement the picture. So one of my jobs is to create a lovely frame, a rhythmic frame for these incredible compositions. And that's the fun for me. It's really big fun, you know, okay, so what will this conversation be? And it's true, you know, there are things about, you know, there's what's on the paper, but then there's all of the magic that gets created that can't be written. And that comes from listening, paying attention. Like I said, the commitment to the story, to the motion and the emotion of the music. And then we let the adventure begin.
Who wants to be a professional musician? Yeah. There's nothing better in the world in that to get to play your instrument or do your thing, mixing, recording, whatever, and let that be your job. It's what you do, you know. There's nothing more exciting than that. But I will say this, that most bands don't break up on the stage. They don't break up because of music. They break up in the tour bus, in the dressing room, because it becomes personal things. And those, it's hard. You can't separate them, especially when we're together for 3 solid days, riding in vans, coming back from the hotel. But over the years, I've seen people not get invited back to tours, not because they can't play, because they bring some great musicianship to the game. But I just wanted to be around great people that I knew and that I've loved for many, many years. I think I met Mike in 1983 in the south of France, and wow, and he was playing in Jaco Pastorius's band. And so that it kind of leads me to this other thing, is that the people I wanted to bring as we put this idea together, everybody up here has had amazing gigs with other people. We're all side persons at heart, because we serve the music and we love to make, like Omar said, we like to be the frames around the painting. And with Omar, the painting has been Sting. You know, the painting has been Weather Report. The painting, and with Jeff, with Dave Matthews, we love that. We love making other people sound good, and I can speak as a rhythm section player. That's my job. I might get a solo here or something there, but I like to change a bass note a little bit, and Lena looks over at me and goes, that makes it for me. One note, one shift in a rhythm, and have somebody look up, hopefully with a smile. Not always. But the mechanics of putting something like this together, I think this is important that you understand too, especially as students, of big gigs. And for me, this is a big gig. I mean, to travel and know that in the beginning, I write songs too. I've got solo albums out. Mike's played some of my music over the years, but I started looking at who was going to be here. And I thought, as we started to pick the repertoire, I got in touch with everybody and said, you know, bring 2 songs. And that started it. A text thread, some emails, emailing charts, emailing songs. And everybody here has the skills. If Mike sends a chart, we can read it. If Jeff sends an MP3, we can hear it and learn it from that. And everybody here has the ability not only to do that, but then to insert ourselves in to whatever we're reading or whatever we're learning. So that was part of my decision making in this, is to bring together people who it's going to be just like it has been. We haven't played together at all. We had a challenging sound check or rehearsal the first day. It was challenging in the room and hearing things. And then overnight after that, the things get inside of us and they move around, and we get together yesterday for the second time in our lives together at sound check, and it was just so beautiful. And then that night you add an audience, things may change. That's the bridge.
I think it just happens naturally. You find your own way of doing things. Sometimes it's a little bit more obvious with certain people, but but everybody's got their own way of playing whatever. What instrument do you play, or do you sing?
Yeah, I'm a singer.
Singer, so yeah, so you got your own. Eventually it'll sound like you. You could sound like somebody else, but it's going to be your own way of doing it. You know what I mean? And also, I'd like to mention that just, when I was first trying to learn all the stuff that, for instance, Jeff is playing some really advanced stuff, just to learn the language to be able to play improvised stuff. Just basic stuff that Steve was talking about, the arpeggios and all that stuff. At first, you got to learn chord scales, and that was a pain in the ass for me. And it still is. Like when you learn some new stuff, it's hard. The other thing I had to get over was I was really shy about playing. I didn't want to play. I felt really like I sucked. I can't play, and had to get past that. And just the first jazz gig I did was a nightmare. I mean, it was like it was a little club, and most people, I was going to Berkeley College of Music, and most people were putting signs up saying, I got a gig at this little place. It was called Michael's, actually. It was a little place on Gainsborough Street that a lot of students played at. And I didn't want anybody to know about it. I mean, meanwhile, it was my gig. And so when I got there and played, it was, my hands were shaking. And the pick would fall out of my hand. I mean, it wasn't a great gig, that's for sure. and actually, the band outnumbered the audience. I mean, I think we were 4, and there were 3 people there in the audience, and I was still a nervous wreck. And then the second gig got a little bit better. The third one was actually worse, but I kept going through.
You remember all 3, that's amazing.
That's it. Yeah, those I remember. The gigs after that were harder. Some of those gigs were harder to remember, but the main thing is to keep going, no matter what, and learn, and just realize like the process of learning some of the stuff that you're probably learning now, and you feel like it's so much information, and how do you make it music? It's just the way. It's like any other language. You have to music is a language. Music is a language of the heart, which is really beautiful. But I mean, you can say things with music that you can't express with that better than you can express in any other form, almost. But to learn any language is just a pain in the ass. At first, you're very self-conscious. It's not. You can't just. If you're trying to learn some brand new language, if I were to try to speak French, which I'm not particularly good at all, I can't say anything from the heart. I'm thinking about pronunciation, and I'm trying to just get simple words out. And so eventually you get more fluent at this language, but it just takes what it takes, and it's and you just keep going, and then I think eventually you get your own voice. You find your own ways of doing things. One thing really helps is to try to write, I think, some tunes or just even melodies or whatever. find your own way of doing stuff.
Hey Mike, it's also, as much as we practice and we work on things, it seems to me that developing our voice requires the performance of those things, just like language, of getting out and speaking that language with people. And I find today, a lot of us think we're going to find our voice in the practice room by practicing more and more and more. And that's important, believe me, working on the craft and the vocabulary. But even at Berkeley sometimes, I encourage students to perform more, to get more comfortable. Because if I'm really nervous, I'm going to talk like this. But if I'm relaxed and I'm me, if you all close your eyes and any one of us speak for 3 or 4 words, you'll know exactly who it is. You already know our voice.
Right.
And God gave, vocalists have it going. Everybody in here has a unique vocal sound. Now it's a matter of expressing it, getting those materials, the mechanics, and play. If my partner Victor was here, he would go, for every hour you practice, play for 5 hours. I'll just go and say split it.
And I would say don't do it necessarily with a machine. Of course you can do it with stuff
play
like
with
that
people.
today. But I used to shed with and when we were working on some, when we were rehearsing, I think the main thing when you're with any band, at least in my experience, is when I'm bringing in some new music of mine or trying to learn somebody else's music, or I have a concept of how to play a standard jazz tune or something, I try to figure it out with the drummer first. To me, the drummer is the most. That's the heart of the band. You got to get it straight with the drummer. If you want something soft, you ask him to play brushes maybe, or just play however he wants to do it, with softer, lighter sticks or something. But you got to get together with the drums first. And Omar is one of those guys that's just amazing. He can hear something and he's got the idea. He's got the concept. And then if you want to mention something, we'll do this on these 4 bars or something, oh yeah, okay. He's got it right away. But the main thing is you deal with the drummer first and then the bass player, because that's the lungs of the band. So you got and the rest of us are just, we're frosting on the cake. But really, if you get together with the most important to me is the drums, and to get the dynamics from the drums and the concept of a song. And if I don't have it together, if I want something soft from a tune and the drummer just doesn't have it and he starts to play heavy backbeat or something, it's just not going to work, no matter what everybody else plays. So you get it together with the drums, and then make sure that the bass and drums and they play together some, so it sounds amazing right away. Steve and Omar have played together. So, and then the rest of it, you try to listen, obviously, to what everybody's doing, and try to get the notes right at first. And then when you play the tune, and the more we play together, we try to kind of interact at the last, right at the moment. And once again, Omar is amazing at that, because he's...
When these turn the lights on, we want to get a photo with everybody.
See?